Okay, so chapter 4. 18, what is histology? That's the study of tissues, asked in this chapter because this chapter is about tissues. 19, the four basic tissue types are epithelial, connective, muscle, and nervous or neural. 20, identify four essential functions of epithelial tissue: PPSS, PS, PSS, protection, permeability, which means it can decide some things can go through, some things can't, sensitivity, like with receptors, and secretion. 21, identify the three cell shapes. So they can be flat, which we call squamous. They can be cube-shaped, cuboidal, or column-shaped, which are columnar. 22, list 6 different types of epithelial tissue. So these are the 6 that we did. Running through the one layer. So if it's just one layer, that means simple, right? So simple, one layer of flat cells would be simple squamous. You would find those like in the alveoli of the lungs. Being one layer of flat cells makes them really good for permeability, letting things diffuse through. You can have one layer of cube-shaped cells, which would be called simple for one layer, cuboidal for cube-shaped. Think of those associated with glands. You can have one layer of column-shaped, which would be simple columnar. This important thing to remember about simple columnar is that they have the microvilli. These are the ridges, like kind of finger-shaped projections that come up. And this increases surface area, which is really good for absorption. We'll find this in the digestive tract. Makes sense, right? We have, now we can go to multiple layers, so more than one layer, we call that stratified. So we can have more than one layer with the cells being flattened at the surface, stratified squamous. This would be skin. You can have transitional, which transitional kind of looks like, when it's not stretched, kind of looks like what you would think of with stratified cuboidal, many layers of cube-shaped cells. But the thing about transitional, the reason why it's called transitional, is because it can stretch and those cells can flatten. So if you think about something that would stretch, for example, the bladder. So remember, the bladder can stretch. Bladder gets full, it stretches. Receptors tell us we need to empty the bladder. All right. And then we have pseudostratified, which means fake stratified. It's not really more than one layer, but it looks like it because the nuclei are all at different levels when you look at the cells. Another important feature to remember here is this is pseudostratified ciliated, so it has cilia, has the little hairs on it. And those hairs are good sweepers or filterers, so we find this in the respiratory tract. All right, and number 23, the three types of connective tissue, the three main categories are going to be connective tissue proper, or CTP. Also fluid connective tissue and supporting connective tissue. Number 24, which two types of connective tissue have a fluid matrix? So fluid would be blood and lymph. 25, identify the two types of supporting connective tissue. Supporting would be bone and cartilage. Couple notes on here. There are notes that I added. I realized as I went through here. Oh, a lot of them actually. I didn't put the neuron. Ooh, don't do that. I didn't put the neuron on there. Okay, I can record this. So adipose tissue, you should know that that's fat. Also, if I ask a question about muscle tissue, so it can either be striped or not striped in appearance. We call that striated or non-striated. Striated if it's striped appearance. So skeletal muscle has a striped appearance, it's striated, and it's voluntary. We can control that. That's what moves our skeleton. That's why it's called skeletal muscle. We can have cardiac muscle, which also has a striped appearance. It's striated. This is like in the heart, cardiac, but it's involuntary. We can have smooth muscle, like associated with our organs, our viscera. Think of a digestive system. This is non-striated, so it does not have a stripe appearance, and it's involuntary. This neuron diagram, it's just going to be the basics. This part here is the cell body, okay? So on the cell body, we have these branching dendrites. This is actually where the signal comes in to the cell body. We have a nucleus, of course, in the middle. And then the tail coming out, sending the message out, that is the axon. Why'd you write that so big and circle it, Mr. Dodds? I don't know. All right. We also talked briefly about inflammation, too. So inflammation happens due to tissue injury. So we got to isolate the area. We're going to be bringing more blood flow. Because of the blood flow, increased fluid to the area, there's going to be swelling. There's also going to be redness. All right. So that's your chapter 4.